Hello my friends, Lenny with Vintage Nationals with you today on the web at nationalguitar.com. Well, I've got another bench talk I'm putting together. I think this is number 5. And today I've got the honor and pleasure of having just taken in this beautiful 1929 early wood body Triolian. Features of this guitar that are interesting and unique are the screens on the cover plate. An early feature before they went to the sieve cover plate. Another feature on this one you'll see is the handrest. But look at the shape of the handrest on this, how it gets wider in the middle. And look at the shape of this, it's a straight line right over. There's no curve to this. This is an early example of the handrest. It has the Hula Girl stencil on the back. The ones previous to this had the flowers, which we've had some of those. And as you can see on these early models, the highlights that they and hopefully you can see it through the video here, but the highlights, the turquoise is just thrown around in different spots, and then you had the plums thrown around in different spots, just various, you know, look at the nice plum piece right there. So it's pretty crazy how they did this here, and the fingerboard's painted plum right there. Now, this is in stellar condition. Let's take a look inside. Okay, well, I'm going to take the tail piece and then the cover plate off. These screws here are brass and soft, and I can see that they've been worked open a few of these once before, so this cover plate's been taken off once before, most likely. For what, I don't know, but I would guess it's to bring the saddle down. If you look at this neck angle, if you can see, looking down the neck, stop that. If you look at the flap as it reaches the body right here, you can see that it raises up a little bit, meaning the neck angle is pulled forward just slightly. I'm hoping you can see that in this. Look straight down the edge of the neck there, which is not a big deal. We're going to reset that and get it back to where it was in the beginning. You can see there's no serial number on this headstock, no serial number at the tail on these early wood bodies. You can see the screen cover plate nicely, and the straight across handrest. Early feature. Okay. So the fact that as I look at these screws, a couple things tells me. When you look at the screws and you can see that they've been opened up a little bit, or there's a little chip around that as there is right here, but the center of this screw has actually been opened up with too small of a screwdriver, just a little bit, so it's probably been opened up one time. And most likely, and I'll take this paper out that I leave in there to hold the cone in place, most likely that was done to lower the saddle, as is typical. See how short that saddle is under there going across? That's the typical method people use to lower the action after the neck starts pulling forward. You try to get it back down. You keep sanding that saddle down until there's almost nothing left. So that's probably why this thing was opened up. The saddle is lower than it would be, lower than it's typical from a factory setting. And anyways, not a big deal. Here we go, the excitement. The cover plate comes off. And you can see here how these were tacked on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can see how each screen was hand, which, you know, that's a lot of effort right there. So going to a stamped sieve cover plate allowed them to save money and save a guy sitting there soldering this by hand. Now, cone is in stellar condition. Wow, that is a fantastic cone. That's interesting. They hadn't started putting the tacks in. Normally on the early guitars they started putting 4 tacks in to attach the cone. This one has just a single screw, which is, they ultimately went to that, but it's interesting to see it early Then they went away from it to the 4 tacks, which took time and effort and labor. Another feature on these early cones that lets me know this is correct is you look at the edge. It's a rough cut edge. It's not rolled. And you see the way that edge is cut in there. It's sharp and not rolled up as they ultimately became. This would be the correct biscuit because there's no stamping on it. It's just a plain dyed maple piece. Look how short the saddle is on this biscuit here. It's obviously been ground down to a shorter height to bring the action down on that guitar as the neck pulled forward. So that's the one time this was probably opened. That's probably the only thing that was done on that. In summary, let's look at what's different about this guitar. What features stand out? You can see it's got the early tuners that the Stylos and all the high-end Triolians had. But being early, you notice that the post is below the gear, which somewhere along the way they found out that the leverage was better having it on top and you had these posts above. But on these earliest models, you notice the post on these correct tuning gears was below the gear here, an early feature. As I mentioned before, the dots are painted on. There's no real dots in there. The fretboard is painted prior to fretting. These frets are in fantastic shape. The method of attachment, being that we don't have dots, we've got 2 screws right here that are then painted over and 2 more right there. So they put those screws in before they paint this guitar. There's 2 braces that run the length of the back, 1 and 2. Are they necessary? Probably not. We've got the squared off early footprint, the mushrooms as we call them, are square. They ultimately became round. We've got the wooden well, which was specific to this wooden Triolian, the only wooden single cone they made until they made the El Trovador. Got the Hula Girl on the back, of course, with all the crazy plum highlights and some nice highlights there. We've got no serial number, another feature. There is a neck block inside, which is standard, just like they make them today. I'll show you a couple internal pictures. As I mentioned, the stick is not touching, but the stick has a gap of about 1/8 of an inch between it and the block, so it's not wedged together and glued together. Everything else is glued together. Here you see a picture of the tail block that the tailpiece screws into. You can see the neck stick is going down, almost touching it, but there is an 1/8 inch gap there. Here you see the neck block where the neck stick is coming through right beneath the heel of the neck itself. Biscuit has no stamping in it whatsoever, an early feature. The cone has a very sharp outer edge on it. It's not rolled in yet, as they became very shortly after. And the cover plate, of course, has the screens on the back, which are hand soldered, labor intensive. And the hand rest is the earlier, more crude, straight across piece. So that's another early feature. And she has a stellar decal on the front. And we've got the Hula Girl on the back. So this is a beautiful one-owner piece. We're proud to have it here at Vintage Nationals. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little tour through this beautiful early 1929 wood Triolian. And I'm going to leave you off with a picture of the original owner of this guitar. In the back of that picture, there's a date that says 1929 on it. And I got this from her grandson. This guitar has not been played. It's been in storage for 40 years inside its original case. It's in stellar condition. I'm really excited and privileged to have had this come into my possession. So, with the holidays coming up, happy holidays to everyone. And we'll see you at the Pick and Parlor at nationalguitar.com. We've got over 200 videos up there for you to see and hear. And it's a lot of fun. So we'll see you there at the Pick and Parlor, nationalguitar.com. Sweet!